A one per store variant is our hot book of the week, but should you give a crap?
A comic devoted to the TRS-80 computer, my favorite. Strange but true.
And believe it or not, Marvel Westerns galore. What? It's all here on a new episode of Bronze and Modern Gods. Okay, Richard, can you believe it is December 2024?
December. Wow. It's amazing. 2024. My birthday is this month.
He will be 41.
I sure as well hope to be sharing that.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods. If you're not, you don't know when we go in live with a live sale like we did on Sunday. You missed that. Don't miss it again. Make sure you follow us. Let's move on and get going with our hot book of the week. Richard, I know you're pumped.
Our hot book this week is West Coast Avengers #1, not the original. Well, one in store variant, the Blue Bolt variant. Sorry. Like it says, it was a surprise one per store variant of the first issue of the relaunch of the West Coast Avengers.
West Coast Avengers, Richard. Iron Man, Spider-Woman, War Machine, Firestar, Ultron, a new redeemed Ultron, and another former villain here, a new character, Blue Bolt. Not Black Bolt, Blue Bolt.
We're doing the Spectrum bolts, yeah.
Yeah. He seems to have stolen Submariner's 1970s disco leather outfit.
Yeah, I can see that.
This is like Colt Studios come to life. If you know, you know.
Sadly, I know.
Oh, see, there you go. This is selling anywhere from $15 to $40 on eBay, Richard. Tell everybody why that's stupid.
I don't know. What's the reason for this being the hot book?
It's a one per store variant with a new character on the cover. It's going to be hot for what? Another 24 hours? When's new comic book day? Wednesday? People will forget about it.
Why do people fall for this every single time? The one per store variant only means it is of a low print run. Doesn't mean that it's desirable and of a low print run. Like John says, I think by next Wednesday, this is going to be an also ran.
But Richard, Blue Bolt might be in the next movie.
Yeah, I think that kind of speculation has run its course.
Blue Bolt meets the Thunderbolts with Black Bolt guest starring. No?
I don't think that's going to happen.
Let's talk about the story here, which is actually the relaunch of West Coast Avengers. I loved me some West Coast Avengers back in the day. Even though it was Al Milgrom, I still liked the stories.
So have you read this?
I have not read this. I actually have it waiting to be read. I'm going to give you guys my review later, but maybe next week. I just was excited to see West Coast Avengers. It just went right back to that time in the mid to late 80s where we were in our prime, buying these funny books and watching them travel through time.
Yeah, the Avengers are so popular. They spun off West Coast and a couple other chapters of the Avengers. So it's not as hot as it was back then.
Yeah, but West Coast is the best coast. And since we're talking about the West Coast, we need to segue to show and tell, where it's all about the Westerns. Let's give Richard credit for doing the fingers this week. All right, I have a theme. I think I've already just clobbered you guys over the head with the hints. It's Marvel Westerns, specifically Kid Colt Outlaw. Kid Colt Outlaw ran from 1949 to 1979. Marvel's longest running Western title. It I would say continuously published, but it was canceled and on hiatus a couple of times during that time period. But my focus is really the Jack Kirby covers. Jack didn't do interiors for Kid Colt Outlaw. There's a guy named Jack Keller that did a lot of the 60s run, but he did the covers, including Kid Colt 89, inked by Steve Ditko. Look, Richard, it's got your favorite word balloon.
Yeah, I love those thick bordered word balloons, especially the multicolored ones. Yeah.
I want to thank EJ Coblish for keeping these in beautiful condition.
That's a stamp too, isn't it?
It sure is.
Yeah.
And EJ wanted to make sure people knew which books were his. I have a bunch of Westerns with that EJ Coblish stamp. I got them all off eBay. I don't know if it was him selling them or somebody had bought his collection, but these are beautiful. Look at that.
It is beautiful. And the cover composition is incredible too. All that motion.
What do you think of Steve Ditko inking Jack? Didn't happen enough.
I liked it. I like it. It's nice. It's not overly dark as some of the people who ink Jack can be. So it's a nice bold lines, but not overly bold.
I like the really thin line he used on backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, see how it's just basically tracing the pencil. But it's really good. I loved them together, and I wish they had done more. They did a few things in the Atlas title Battle that I have as well. But Kid Colt 89. Save your shekels.
Yep.
What do you got?
I went to a local comic book store, John and Carol's.
Black Friday weekend sale?
Yes, they had a huge blowout yesterday that I completely missed. I just spaced and didn't go. Went today just because I was in the area. They had a whole room full of dollar comics. You would have loved it. I did not dig through all of the dollar comics. What in the world is in here? Anyway, so I bought a number of comics. We'll start off with this one. It is Marvel Team Up number 150.
Did we just talk about this book, or am I making it up?
I think we may have talked about it.
I think it was Old Fart Roll.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about that dynamic, exciting Barry Windsor Smith cover that just blows your socks off.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't do much for me. But it's the last issue. They had a number of copies of this. I just grabbed one. It was 50% off, so it was $3.
And a newsie.
Yeah, and it's in good condition. It probably an 8.5, 9.
Yeah. Nice. All right, my second show and tell book. It's Kid Colt, but it is Mexican Kid Colt.
Oh.
It is Heroes del Oeste. Numero. Yes. 421. I'm not going to try to say that in Spanish. I'm still learning my numbers. And Kid Colt Entra a la Branca. It reprints Kid Colt 95. But find yourself a copy of this, Richard. I dare you.
Yeah. Wow. So is that I would love to see the word balloons on the English version to see how they make.
Yeah, man. I should have pulled 95 out as well, so you could see them face by face. But basically, Kid Colt goes wild.
Yeah.
And he's like, bash. And if you look, that iconic Kid Colt Kirby image was used as the corner box.
Oh.
The Kid Colt comic for years and years and years. And they actually did a T-shirt with all three Western heroes on it in the 60s. And that was the image they pulled for the T-shirt as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
do you know who did the ink for that?
Dick Ayers. This is Kirby and Ayers. And I loved Kirby and Ayers together. Run. What's your next book?
Next book is another. Where'd it go?
I don't know.
Here it is. It's in here. I have the original bag. It's another Marvel Team Up.
Wait, before you show the back cover. Look who's smiling now. How many comic books in the 70s had that back cover?
Yes. How many comic books were ruined because people cut out the coupon in the back for seeds or military, miniatures or whatever in the world it was.
Get their GEDs.
This is Marvel Team Up number 43. It is a Spidey and Dr. Doom.
I'm so happy for you that you got that.
I have not read it yet, but I couldn't pass it up for, what was it, $5. So,
I love are you going to make a corner box of that Kirby pose?
Oh, that is pretty cool.
No, the Doom one. The Doom one.
Yeah.
Where he's like pointing down.
Yeah. That is awesome.
That is cool. Now, you haven't read it yet. You're going to be really frustrated because I think that's part 3 of like a 6-part storyline by Bill Mantlo.
Oh, that is one of the problems of comics is coming in the middle of an arc and trying to understand what in the world is
Well,
going on.
you had 17 pages at that point to work with, and it was like, of course, you got to have some ongoing stuff.
Right.
Yeah, very frustrating. This is the last issue of Kid Colt Outlaw. It is Kid Colt Outlaw number 229 from April 1979.
Mhm.
Right
Who's
there, teamed up with the Rawhide Kid.
ah?
Not a Kirby cover, a Gene Colan cover.
Were they
And
aware that this was going to be a last issue? I mean, was there some kind of wrap up or?
I think no, it reprints the story from Giant Size Kid Colt number 1, which
Okay.
was a kind of team up title for Kid Colt. He would team up with like, Knight Rider and Rawhide Kid. And I think they picked it because they knew it was the last issue and they wanted to end it with like, something strong. This is the last issue. There's that corner box I just told you about where they took that image. Can you make me a Kid Colt quarter box, Richard?
You maybe do something about that.
But this was it. This was kind of went out with a whimper. This was in '79 when Jim Shooter was just culling the whole line of low selling books. His theory and probably the publisher's theory as well was we can keep these little titles limping along, or we can just clear the decks and try some new stuff. And that seemed to work. Like this was canceled. Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel, just so many books were just cleared out in 1979. It was kind of like the Marvel implosion, but it was planned. It was planned. It wasn't like, DC where they got caught by the blizzard of 78 and they had to cancel a whole bunch of stuff. Yep. What's your next and final show and tell book?
I still remember the blizzard of 78. I was in elementary school trying to get to class.
No, we had the week off or something. I remember that, right? And I remember the mail still came, and I got an issue of Howard the Duck in the mail during the blizzard. I was so happy.
And big mountains of snow too. It was fun to play in. My next book is Miles Morales, The Ultimate Spider-Man #4. I have not read this book. I am intrigued by the cover. You got Peter pulling on the costume of Miles, probably saying, "Stop trying to be Spider-Man. I'm Spider-Man." I have not read any of these, so I bought it because this cover has always interested me, and for half off of about $3, it was worth picking up and reading and adding it to the collection.
How much Morales?
Miles and Morales.
Been a while since I've done that. New people, you're like, what? I buy a lot of those books in that era, not because of the Marvel Now era, not because of the book themselves. I buy them for the digital stickers to have extras in case I need to replace a digital sticker.
Yes. Oh, yes. You see, for those who don't know, that little symbol there that says digital edition, there is a little sticker on one of the pages, which is the bane of all comic book pressers. But if you have a book that is missing it, you get dinged when you submit it to CGC. So John keeps some books around and probably...
You don't get dinged. You get a note on the label.
Okay.
Digital sticker missing, which is stupid. Yeah, but there's variants. So there's like that sticker, that size sticker, and then there's like a bigger sticker when they first start. So you have to kind of look. And I always, guys, conventions, go through the dollar bins and just grab a bunch. You're not buying it for the book, you're buying it for replacement stickers.
And again, for those who've never seen it and are pressers, keep an eye out for that digital edition sticker or indicator on the cover, because if it's there, you got to find it in the book and you got to protect it basically by putting paper around it so that when you press, you don't get this neat little outline of the digital sticker in your book.
For more useful tips like this, search on YouTube for our video on how to press modern comics, and you'll see me doing it in action. And you can help support the show by becoming a member right here on YouTube, $2.99 a month. That's much less than a Starbuck now.
Yes.
You get Wednesday bonus episodes. You get a Thursday live stream. Yes, we are back this Thursday. We took Thanksgiving off. Gobble gobble. You get shout outs as your name flies by. We have some new members from the last week as well. Hi, new members. And Richard and I get to pay for expensive stuff like StreamYard, CapCut, all the stuff we use to make these videos. We don't want to spend our money. We want to spend your money. Help us out.
This is not a profit center, people.
Exactly. Hit join here on YouTube right next to the subscribe button or the link in the podcast description as we move to your segment that you love and you contribute to, viewer mail.
You've got
Richard,
mail.
what is your first piece of viewer mail?
My first piece is from Bronze and Modern God's own archivist, Glenn Simpson.
Whenever we have a question, we're like, Glenn Simpson knows.
When I was a kid and recorded an Olivia Newton-John concert from HBO onto cassette and listened to it over and over, almost got beaten up once by the hair band loving dudes. Olivia Newton-John, we were talking about her. She's really, I don't know why she's been such a big part of our recent shows. I loved Olivia Newton-John. Funny thing was, I understand about being beaten up by hair love band loving dudes. When I was a kid, the reason why I picked this comment, when I was a kid, I had a neighbor who was also African American, and he decided I needed to love the Funkadelics. So Bootsy Collins and this is back in days of 8-track tapes. He would make 8-track tapes for me, and then we would sit there and listen to them for hours.
Parliament Funkadelic or Maggot Brain Funkadelic?
Parliament. It was Parliament Funkadelics.
Yeah. Maggot Brain Funkadelic is very different than Parliament.
No, this was Parliament.
By the way, Maggot Brain are the greatest rock instrumentals of all time. If you've never heard Maggot Brain, set aside a half hour of your life to listen to Maggot Brain. Go ahead.
So I was, for the longest time, going into a record store and buying the music that I really liked. Things like Styx and Pat Benatar. I felt dirty going and buying it because I'm supposed to like this other stuff, and here I am buying stuff that's very, very different. So, yeah, there's a lot to be said for having your particular preferences, regardless of if you're going to get beat up about them or not.
There's a little book, and I say little because it's not like a full book. It's like one of those little ebooks that, maybe 35, 50 pages by a friend of mine named Scott T. Sterling, black guy, it's about growing up in Detroit, loving Van Halen and having to keep it a secret.
Yes.
You need to read that book. It's really good.
I do. I absolutely do, because going into Record Revolution, buying music or any of the big box stores, I felt dirty. I really did.
That was like me. I didn't care. I had no shame. I want that new ABBA record now, please. I don't care what you people think. Also, we've been talking on the show the last couple weeks about First Issue Special, DC's tryout title. That was like every issue is a first issue. And we have this great comment about that from Roth's Retro Comics. First issue special had a lot of interesting characters and appearances, including the Creeper, Dr. Fate, and Metamorpho. I'm surprised he didn't mention Kirby's other issues like Manhunter and the Dingbats of Danger Street. They had some pretty memorable covers, to say the least, Roth. Lest we forget, probably the most outstanding issue for the wrong reasons is issue 4 with Lady Cop. Yes, I have a copy of Lady Cop in a 9.8. And that, you're going to have to pry that one from my cold, dead fingers. Also, +1 on Planetary and the Authority. Richard, you really need to read these outstanding comic books. I think you'll really appreciate the faux Fantastic Four. Yes. Good stuff. And and check out his channel, by the way, Roth's Retro Comics. What do you got?
My next piece of your Miller is from our buddy Frank, FJ Leone 2169 to the rest of you. Mahershala Ali.
Sure.
Ali?
I don't know.
Would have been a great Blade. We were talking about Blade and how it's difficult to replace the original. But if it has, if it has been canceled, that's a shame. Based on the garbage that Marvel has been turning out recently, maybe it's good for them to get their house in order before attempting to make it. Absolutely. I picked this comment mainly from Frank because I could not remember when we were talking about him. I could not remember his name. Thank you very much. This has the same kind of chiseled features. I think would make a good blade. But I think you're right. I mean, they've tried forever for years to come up with a good story and the right actors to do the new Blade, and this just have come up short. That to me means that if they did come up with something, it's probably going to be this giant compromise in order to get it out. And to me, compromises always means something that's not as good as something that has a clear direction. So the fact that it was canceled is, like you say, is probably a good thing. Gives them an opportunity to get their house in order, come up with a better game plan for the Blade movie, and hopefully something that is less contentious and something that will be appreciated by the fans. I'm looking forward to a second Blade. I would love to see another one. I just don't want to see another slapdash production that Marvel seems to be doing recently.
You mean the Spike TV series Blade?
Oh God. Oh man.
Da, 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 da.
I like Spike TV as a concept. I did not like that though.
Poor sticky fingers. My next piece of viewer mail comes from our friend Eli Ruiz Jr. Hi, Eli. Planetary was such a great book. Loved all the homages to popular characters such as Godzilla, Doc Savage, and Fantastic Four. Would like to see this turned into a miniseries for Netflix. Oh, man. Love The Authority as well for its over-the-top violence and gore, and for the relationship between Apollo and Midnighter. Richard, what if Batman and Superman shacked up?
I think Batman better watch out.
You would have Apollo and the Midnighter. I remember when Captain Victory was first published. Way too expensive for my meager allowance. I know, right? I had to trade for it, Eli. Plus, back then, I did not appreciate Jack Kirby's art like I do today, but I finally completed my Pacific comic set this year. No, now it's time to read them. Eli, you and Frank, who Richard just had an email from, Frank was like calling me out for saying, I hated Jack Kirby's art when I was a kid, and yet I liked it now. Yes. I don't know what to say. I don't think I really hated it when I was a kid. I think I was being trained to hate it, kind of like your neighbor trying to train you to like Funkadelic.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it, obviously, because I bought every Jack Kirby drawn comic that I could get my hands on. So life is full of contradictions.
Sure is.
Life is a
I'm
mystery.
gonna have to read it.
Everyone must stand alone. I hear you call my name. Oh, sorry, Richard. What's your next piece of viewer mail?
My next piece of viewer mail is from our buddy Dean TV. Buy that Marvel boy, John. It's calling your name.
Stop it. I'm being good.
No. See, Dean joins the illustrious collection of friends that egg you on and make you ignore Susie Orman and spend your money on what you want.
Yeah. Just so you know, Dean, Richard, and all you other enablers, that thing ended up selling for $4,080.
Wow.
It was a 9.0 Marvel Boy #1 Carson City pedigree. What do you think of that? Do you think 4,000 and some change is impressive? I thought it was low.
I'm thinking it's low too. For $4,000 for a first appearance.
1950.
Yeah, I think that was a good price. I think that should have been in your collection, John.
Yeah, Dean, Richard, Forrest, Evan, all you enablers. I should have put it on a high interest credit card and paid 30% interest on it for the next 6 years. Yeah, that's what I should have done. Richard, no.
No, what? But okay. On the flip side of that, how often have you seen a high grade Marvel boy show up? Period.
Is there a hole in my heart because I don't have the Carson City pedigree? No, I'm good.
There is not. Okay, good. I'm glad you have a healthy attitude to your comic book collection?
I love collecting. I love buying stuff, but $4,080, that's a trip to London and Stockholm and coming
I
back, you know?
I hear you. There's been a number of books recently that I looked at and said, "Wow, that I would love to have that book," but then I realized I would also love to not have an empty bank account. So, and that the desire not to have an empty bank account wins out.
Bronze and Modern Gods, your boring, fiscally responsible snorefest of a podcast. What is your last piece of your mail, Richard?
The last one is from you, John.
Oh, it's from me. It's from Second Best Bob, who says, "Oh dear, I really need to trim down my collection, but after watching this, I have a Captain Victory #1 on the way for 10 pounds, including postage, and a bid in for the first 10 issues of Planetary." And, Bob, that's 10 pounds. That's a lot better than 4,000 pounds. I'm going to give you that. And
yeah,
you won't regret Captain Victory. It's one of the more bizarre Kirby books.
I think it's a great buy. 10 pounds, awesome. It's a great way to get some entertainment.
Richard, do you know there's a character in Captain Victory, the fighting fetus? It is a giant cosmic powered fetus floating in space.
Wow.
You need to read Captain Victory. Maybe after a gummy, a drink or two, just enjoy it.
Yeah,
relaxation. Let your open your mind up. Embrace new things. Don't be an old fart. Old fart rule. Traveling back in time 40 years to 1984. It is the old fart rule. Richard, I found this. When you see this cover, right there on the screen, what happens?
Oh, I'm taken back. It is a huge nostalgia machine there. That is crazy, especially that Whiz Kid font.
Oh my God. It is the TRS-80 computer Whiz Kids, a free promotional giveaway from Radio Shack, produced by Archie Comics for Radio Shack. These things seem to be thick as flies in Florida back in the 80s.
Yeah, art by Dick Ayers and Chick Stone, who are also working for Archie, relaunched on the Archie relaunched superhero line at the same time.
This particular one, went through 3 printings, which probably explains the proliferation of copies back in the day. I mean, how many times did you see this in quarter?
I don't, okay, for those who don't know, TRS-80 computers were some of the first personal computers on the market.
Colloquially known as the Trash 80.
Yes, the Trash 80. There's the Apple II, there was the TRS-80, and then the Commodore 64 were the big 3. There are other brands, other makes and models, but those are the ones that held most of the market. And this was a promotional comic that was given out at the Radio Shack stores for the TRS-80 computer.
I also think they went to schools, because I remember seeing this in my high school as well, like stacks of these. Okay, you mentioned all those computers. You didn't mention 2 that I want your opinion on. Atari 800?
Yes, I would consider Atari 800, not the 400, but the 800 to be in that same category.
400 had the horrible chiclet keyboard. No, not chiclet, but like pressure keyboard. Ugh.
Right. It was not up to the snuff as the 800. And what was the other one?
TI 99 4A?
I had a TI 99 4A briefly, and I know that you had one. It didn't hold up as well as the other ones. I remember being able to buy one for the holiday season for under $100.
Yeah, they were blowing them out.
Yeah, they were blowing them out. So it was an interesting computer. I just don't think it had the same kind of legs that the other 4 that we talked about had.
The thing about the TI is it took cartridges. So you would have it was like a step above an Atari 5200, I think. Not quite as good as a Commodore 64 with some of the adapted games. The annoying thing about the TI that I remember is the keyboard was like a 3/4 size keyboard. It had a keyboard, but the keys were smaller. So you'd have to type like this. But back to this one. Recent sales on eBay for this sucker for a fine plus copy around $4.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know they continue this, Richard? There were further issues.
Wow. I don't remember seeing any of the other issues of this, but that is amazing.
85, there was one, 87, 88, 90, 91, and 92. All different issues. But by then they were known as the Tandy Computer Whiz Kids because the Trash 80 had been put out to pasture by that point. Alec and Shanna.
It's this was a fun. When I saw this in the show notes, I smiled immediately because I was a computer nerd back in the 80s, which was a badge of honor because you really had to jump through hoops to do it. And I remember hanging out at my local Radio Shack, and I remember these comics there. So this was a.
I just want everybody to focus on that sentence Richard just said. I remember hanging out at my local Radio Shack. Look where he is. Look how much coin Richard makes now. The nerds win in the end.
Yes. It is. I give credit to my current career to my childhood hanging out at computer stores.
You tell your kids, tell your grandkids if you have them, if they're a nerd, if they're socially awkward, they're picked on, they're going to win in the end. They always do. We always win in the end.
Focus wins over other stuff.
Other stuff. Where is that quarterback for the high school football team now? Yeah. He's a cop. Oh, what a shocker. Let's move on to our underrated books of the week before we get too bitter. Richard, look at you with the bad girls, or is this good girls?
No, this is bad. My pick is All Crime Comics #1 from a company called Art of Fiction back in 2012. This is a crime story comic. It's got this gorgeous cover by Bruce Timm here, and this is Bruce Timm. This is his adult side. You know, they're not Harley Quinn running around or Batman. These are more adult themes. As you can see by this cover, there's a woman sitting on a bed smoking a cigarette, and a man in the doorway looking ominous. There are 3 issues to this, as far as I can tell. There's very little information online for this. All 3 of them have gorgeous Bruce Timm covers. So if you're interested in collecting the set, you can get some very, very rare low print run covers by Bruce Timm. The writer is listed as Eric Warfield, but these books have more than one artist. There is the first portion of the book is written by one artist, and then there's a different writer. Then there's a different artist in the middle and writer, and so on and so forth. So it's difficult to say just one. Like I said, 3 issues in the series. I love the covers. I love Bruce Timm when he does pinup stuff, and these are all kind of really cool pinup covers. If you like this style of Bruce Timm, in other words, the adult stuff, he did some art books called Naughty and Nice that you can find on eBay or I'm sure on Amazon as well. If you'd like to read them, they are pricey, but they are chock full of gorgeous Bruce Timm art that is definitely adult themed. I will warn you of that. No sex, but a lot of nudity. So be aware. This book goes for about $30 to $50 on eBay right now. There was a 9/8 sold back in, I believe it was September, for $212. There's only 50 copies on the census, of which 10 are 9/8. So it's fairly rare. If you come across this book in a long box or a dollar bin, note on the cover, this is one of those distressed cover comics, which drives me insane.
Hides the bends well.
It does hide the bends well. So don't be thrown if at first glance it looks like it's worn. It's supposed to be that way. But yeah, I've read issues 1. I've read issues 2, and it's a good story, very good crime story. You know, these are bad guys doing bad things. I cannot find issue 3.
Mm.
And the funny part is issue 2 ends with a cliffhanger. I am not going to mention what it is, but it was like I'm reading the book and I'm like, okay, this is okay, this is good. And I get to the last page, and all of a sudden my eyes go wide. Okay, I gotta find issue 3 because I want to see how this ends, and I can't find it. So I'm gonna have to go hunting for it and maybe buy it off of eBay. But good stories.
Yeah, issue 1. I'm looking at the cover here. What's the crime?
There's no crime defined, I think, by this cover other than adultery.
Is she selling it?
Potentially, if that's not her husband standing in the doorway and she's wearing her nether clothes, potential. The second cover is definitely, there's a stewardess who is pointing a gun into the cockpit of a plane, and there's a pilot and co-pilot with bullets in their heads.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The other cover's got, you see the crimes. Issue 1. It's just like, oh, she's on the bed. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. My underrated book this week, going back to the Marvel Westerns, we saw the last issue of Kid Colt Outlaw. It is the last issue of Rawhide Kid 151. Oopsie. How is he gonna fire his guns, Richard, with his hands broken?
Oh, that's what. Okay, I'm looking at the cover, and there's the foreground is a guy getting ready to pull his gun, and then there's Rawhide Kid, and I thought he had guns in his hand, but no, they're all bandaged up.
Yeah, last issue of this long-running Marvel Western series. This also has the distinct honor of being the last ongoing Marvel Western title that Marvel published. It beat Kid Colt Outlaw by 1 month, May 79. Kid Colt was April 79. Oh, we hardly knew you, Rawhide. Raws on eBay go for about $20 for a high grade copy. The last noted GPA sale was for a CGC 9.6 in January of 2016.
Wow.
For $90. That's the last GPA sale for a slabbed copy. So I wonder what would happen if a 9.8 ever came to market.
Oh boy, I'm sure there are plenty of fans of Westerns that would love to get their hands on it. Now, this is the title on the cover here. It says "The Last Gunfight." So, were they aware that this was the end of the series?
I think they knew it was canceled, and so they have that provocative title, "The Last Gunfight." The story inside, no, does not reflect anything. It's another reprint from Rawhide Kid 99, where a story where Rawhide Kid is fighting these two outlaws. They grab him, they smash his hands and his fingers, so he can't fire his weapon. So he ends up firing the weapon later with his hands bandaged by fanning the gun, and his hands heal. The end. Oh, thanks. Aw. Well, hope you enjoyed a mixed mash of stuff: Westerns, crime, superheroes. That's the
have you noticed? I mean, we've talked about it. I don't know if in the main show, but we've talked about how our collecting focus has switched from superheroes to other comic book genres like crime and westerns. And that seems to be, other than reading some of the absolute stuff that's come out from DC. Yeah, I've kind of focused on, been reading other things.
Yeah, I mean, we even talk about Hanna-Barbera stuff, Space Ghost, Trash 80s.
Yeah.
Are you gonna look for those Computer Whiz Kid books now? I kind of want them now.
I would love to. I would love to read. I mean, what I love to do and getting that old stuff is to read the ads, because they are absolutely hilarious for things that are no longer available, but at the time seem really important.
I have to read these stories because do the kids like, oh, we got to hack into the system. Let me use my modem, and they use like a receiver on the cup.
Ooh, 300 baud. We're fine.
Oh, man. And then they get the phone bill from AT&T later. Guys, if you read those, let us know what you think in the comments, and we might read them next week. Until then, members, we will see you on Wednesday. Everyone else, we'll see you next Monday.
Yep. Everybody, stay safe.